Hello, everybody. This is Charles Rather. Today, we're going to talk about the National Interest Waiver and why it's so popular. Again, my name is Charles Rather. I'm an immigration attorney and the founder of AmLaw Group. We're a boutique investment business immigration law firm based in Southern Florida, where we focus on working with investors, talented individuals, and professionals to get temporary or permanent status in the U.S. And today I wanted to talk about why is the national interest waiver category so popular. At the time of this filming in the summer of 2023, there's a backlog of cases going back quite a ways. I mean, this category is backlogged by probably about a year or so, if I'm not mistaken. And I can't remember the last time that's happened. So there's obviously a lot of people all of a sudden interested in this. And the question is, why? For a long time, we ourselves as a firm didn't engage too much in the NIW just because I guess we're so busy with some of the other categories and options that were available to our clients. But we've definitely noticed a surge over the last year or two in this category. And I think that's for the following reasons. And you can decide for yourself if maybe this makes sense. This is an option that's worth considering for you. First of all, I think NIW is very appealing compared to other employment-related visas in that you don't have to go through the labor perm process. Labor perm is what's needed in the case of, say, of an EB-3 or an EB-2, where you have to get a binding, official job offer from an employer. They have to go through the rigmarole of preparing a very clear job description, which gets sent to the Department of Labor. The Department of Labor reviews it, says, hey, this person working at this kind of position in this city should get a salary of this amount. And those salaries have gone up quite a bit. During Trump, they decided to increase, the percentile that which they would use to, perform or file these labor permits. I think in the past it was maybe the salary that the Department of Labor would issue was like, say, the 50% percentile or maybe 60%. And then later that went up to 70 or 80%. So if you look at these salaries that the Department of Labor is putting out, they're relatively high. They're higher than the average salary in the market because that's just kind of the calibration that they're using. So that can sometimes hold off employers or scare them a little bit because they might have to pay above market wages to the client. But the process itself is a pain in the butt. The labor permit can take a long time, a year or even more. So by the time you're done with it with an EB-2 or an EB-3, you're looking at probably at least a year and a half and maybe even 2 years. Whereas with the NIW, they now have premium processing, 45 days, boom, you can get an answer. I mean, it's like night and day. So for people that maybe in the past they might have considered an EB-2, now they're looking at the NIW because it's so much more faster. You get a result, you get an answer pretty quickly. 2 months or less, you'll know for sure whether you got the green light or not. The other thing is, I think NIW is popular because there's no job offer that's really required. If you look at one of our other videos about NIW, we talk about one tactic or approach of getting an NIW is to have an expression of interest or even a job offer from a U.S. company that can say, hey, we're interested in this person because he has these skills and this background and this knowledge that is really rare and unusual in the United States right now, and we can't find somebody to do that. So that's a great way, depending on other circumstances, of getting an NIW. But the thing is, it's not a binding job offer, right? I mean, the company could change its mind later. They might say, hey, we're willing to work with you, but maybe on a part-time basis, see how things go. It just offers a lot more flexibility, both to the U.S. company expressing its interest and also to the employee, because he or she isn't necessarily obligated to work with that company as well once he gets the NIW, for example. So it's just popular again because there's just no need to have a specific set employer in place prior to filing or even after filing. Again, the other reason I think that NIW is popular, for one of the reasons I mentioned, is they now have premium processing. In the past, NIW was taking 1 to 2 years. But late 2022, early 2023, they implemented premium processing. Granted, it's not the premium processing like with E2s and L1s, 15 days, but it's 45 days. So for the government, that's pretty fast. So we'll take what we can get. So that's another reason I think in part that explains the increased popularity for NIWs. And last but not least, I think generally the NIWs are relatively easier to deal with. I'm not saying the criteria are easy. And in fact, it's a challenge. Some of my associates and my partners, they don't like NIWs. Why is that? Because it's really kind of a individualized approach that's required in each particular case. And each case is different. And you're starting from scratch almost every time. So it requires a lot of effort and brain cells. And so hopefully, you know, if you don't have enough of those brain cells, your attorney does to help put together a good case. But it's more work. But at the end of the day, I would say the regulatory requirements are a little bit easier than with EB2, EB3, and some other categories. And so people, for a relatively fast turnaround, 45 days, relatively not too expensive cost. I mean, NIWs are much cheaper than, say, an EB5. People are increasingly turning to this category to get their green card. So if you think you might be a good candidate for NIW, and again, not everybody is a good candidate. Look at our other videos where we talk about the requirements and the criteria, or even better yet, sign up for a consultation with us where we can go through in more detail your background to see if NIW is best for you, or maybe there's another option that would better suit you. Until next time, this is Charles Rather.